Hi, I'm Liz French from RT Book Reviews, and I'm here with Rosemary Harris. You write what you call suburban noir, and I love that phrase because these days the mystery genre is a little mixed up. It's changing, and I want to talk a little bit about the C word in the industry, in the mystery writing world. And we're not talking about the bad C word. We're talking about
cozy.
Cozy. Okay. Why do you hate cozy?
I don't really hate cozy.
Okay.
I think it's just too limiting for what a lot of us are doing right now.
Okay.
I think back in the day there were hard-boiled
Yeah.
serial killers and cozy. And I think now so many people are writing so many interesting and different books with different casts of characters that cozy is just too limiting.
Too limiting,
a term.
yeah. What is a cozy?
Well, most people define a cozy as a mystery where there is very little graphic violence, if any, or sex. There are generally no four-letter words. I think the problem with that definition for a lot of writers these days is that we can say yes to all of those things, but it is not the traditional cozy, which generally has a senior sleuth in a small, closed setting, and frequently cats are involved.
Cats.
Cats and tea.
Yes. Your way of easing it into a new is having a career woman, slightly younger, and how much of her is based on you?
Oh gosh, people do ask that question because Paula is a former media exec, and so am I.
Like
and
you.
She's a gardener,
Yeah.
and so am I. But the reality is there's a little bit of me in every one of my characters, including the men, including the bad guys. Because if you don't put yourself into their skins, you're going to have a flat character.
Right.
You're not going to have somebody who really comes alive on the page.
Yeah.
So I'm the older characters. I'm some of the teenage girls.
Oh, dig it. Yeah.
I like it. I like. You know,
And the villain, that's going to make the villain more believable because a cardboard villain just kills it for me. So.
You know, I was at a book festival recently, and a fledgling writer in the audience, young girl, asked me how to create really good villains. And I know she was expecting the drooling, wild-eyed Hannibal Lecter type of character. And I was reminded of a line from an old movie, a favorite old movie of mine called Broadcast News.
Oh, yeah.
And Albert Brooks calls somebody the devil. And then he goes on to say, why couldn't he be the devil? Because who is going to be fooled by a guy with horns and a long tail? And that's what I think of when I write a villain. I don't want my villains to be so obvious.
Right.
I want them to look just like you and me.
Yeah.
I mean, I want them to look like the guy next door. Because
Got
I
it.
think what is scarier than that?
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, the banality of it.
Yep.
Definitely. And Ted Bundy is the one I think of automatically, you know.
Absolutely.
He was charming and just seemed like a normal guy. 32 bodies, more than that, I think.
You know, every time I say this in a suburban setting, people laugh because I know that deep down we have all thought at one time or another that one of our neighbors was a lunatic,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
The fourth book is called Slugfest, and it's set, thank you for
That's
laughing.
so funny.
It is kind of a funny title. She's, of course, a gardener. That's her business. And the book is set at a fictional flower show in New York City. And one of the products being offered for sale is a slug repellent called Slugfest.
I like it. Well, what is you do a lot of gardening yourself?
I do. I'm a master gardener in the state of Connecticut, and I do a lot of volunteer
Oh.
gardening.
Oh, very.
So one of my favorite things to do is to teach brownies how to plant annuals,
Oh,
which is kind
yeah,
of a
that
hoot.
sounds touching
It
and
is.
adorable and
Oh, it's a
funny
riot.
and
They're-
dirty.
They're hysterical because
Yeah.
who is more serious than an 8-year-old girl who's trying to do everything
Trembling
right?
with anticipation.
Yes,
You know.
absolutely.
How fun is that?
It is a lot of fun.
When the gardener, how do you get it so that she's not just tripping through the garden and la-di-da, there's a dead body? How do you work around that?
That's a challenge for everybody who writes an amateur sleuth.
Right.
I mean, they have no earthly business sticking their noses into some of these crimes.
Yeah.
And you have to avoid the the sense that she is tripping over a body in the garden, or the Cabot Cove syndrome, which of course is where how many murders can
How
there
many
be
old friends arrive in Cabot Cove and say, I got a problem?
in one small town? You have to
exactly.
be kind of, and in the same way that Jessica used to have to go out of town to visit her New York publishers, where New York was a hotbed of criminal activity.
Right.
In book 2 in my series, which is called The Big Dirt Nap, Paula goes to Connecticut's casino country, and there she can rub shoulders with some more unsavory characters. But it is a challenge for people who write amateur sleuths.